It started with a sound of screeching metal and shattering glass, a sound that tore through the quiet Saturday afternoon air along the N2 near Ofongolo in KwaZulu-Natal. In a matter of seconds, lives were ended, families were destroyed, and the road once again claimed innocent souls. 3 people, whose journeys had begun like any other, never made it home. The accident happened just after 4 o'clock, a time when most people are on their way back from errands, work, or family visits. But for those on that stretch of highway, what unfolded was nothing short of a nightmare. A truck, massive and unrelenting, collided with a light motor vehicle, twisting it into a mangled heap of metal. When the dust settled and the sirens filled the air, 3 lifeless bodies lay on the tarmac. 2 others were injured, their screams echoing the horror that had just taken place. Witnesses described the scene as unbearable. Broken glass scattered across the road, shoes and personal items lying in pools of blood, the smell of burning rubber still hanging in the air. One motorist who stopped to help said it was like stepping into a war zone. You could hear people crying, calling for help, but there was so much damage there was very little anyone could do. Emergency responders arrived quickly, but even their experience could not shield them from the devastation. Paramedics worked tirelessly, moving between bodies, checking pulses, performing CPR, and trying to comfort those still breathing. A blanket was gently placed over one victim, another over a second, and a third over the last, each marking a life that had ended too soon. The KwaZulu-Natal Department of Transport was immediately notified. Spokesperson Dabsingel Sibiya confirmed that MEC for Transport and Human Settlements, Siboniso Duma, was briefed about the tragedy by Traffic Ambassador Ayandam Swili. Duma's response was filled with sadness and frustration. "We send our deepest condolences to the families of the 3 victims who perished when the truck collided with a light motor vehicle," he said, his words heavy with grief. But behind those condolences lies a deeper truth, one that South Africans have grown painfully familiar with. Truck accidents on our roads have become an epidemic. Each week seems to bring fresh tragedy, and each tragedy leaves behind mothers, fathers, and children asking the same heartbreaking question: why? At Ofongolo, the Road Traffic Inspectorate joined forces with emergency rescue services, local municipal officers, and other agencies to begin investigating what went wrong. One lane of the N2 was closed as recovery teams worked under the weight of silence, knowing that every wrecked vehicle tells a story of what should never have happened. The RTI has since handed the matter over to the South African Police Service for a full investigation. But for now, the cause remains uncertain. Was it brake failure? Was it speeding? Was the driver fatigued after hours on the road? Or was it another case of negligence that could have been prevented if the system worked the way it was supposed to? As night fell over Ofongolo, tow trucks hauled away the remains of what was once a family car. Streetlights cast long shadows over the scene, and the distant hum of passing vehicles was the only reminder that life, for everyone else, goes on. But for 3 families, time had stopped. Somewhere, phones were ringing. Somewhere, loved ones were receiving that dreaded call, the one that begins with, "There's been an accident." MEC Duma later addressed the media, urging motorists to drive with caution. "We are requesting motorists to exercise extra caution, as one lane is currently closed. The recovery process is still underway," he said. Yet, even as he spoke, one could sense the exhaustion in his voice, a weariness born not just from this tragedy, but from the many that came before it. In recent months, KwaZulu-Natal has seen a disturbing rise in fatal road accidents, many involving heavy-duty trucks. The department's records paint a grim picture, one of carelessness, lawlessness, and systems stretched to breaking point. In response, Duma's department has launched what he calls a major operation aimed at monitoring truck activities across the province, from weighbridges to inspection points along the N2 and N3. During one such operation, authorities arrested 10 undocumented foreign nationals, including 3 truck drivers who had no professional driving permits or valid documentation. Dumas said this cannot continue. As we stated, over the past months, we recorded an increase in the number of fatalities and severe injuries associated with horrific accidents involving trucks. We have resolved to sustain our operations at more than 17 weighbridges across all corners, including the N2 and N3, he said. But for many, those words, however well-intentioned, are too late. Too many families have already buried loved ones because of trucks that shouldn't have been on the road, driven by people who shouldn't have been behind the wheel. And so, while officials investigate, ordinary South Africans mourn. One woman from Ofangelo said she was nearby when the crash happened. She described hearing a loud bang and rushing out to see smoke rising in the distance. "I knew it was bad," she said softly. People were screaming. Some were running toward the cars. Others were just standing there, crying. You never forget that sound. The emotional toll on first responders has also been immense. Many of them say they are haunted by what they've seen on KwaZulu-Natal's roads, scenes that replay in their minds long after the flashing lights fade. A veteran paramedic told local media that he has responded to over 30 fatal crashes in the past year alone. "Every time it feels the same," he said. "You do your best, but sometimes your best is not enough." The horror at Ofangelo also brought back memories of another devastating crash that occurred just last month in Greenwood Park. In that tragedy, 2 people were killed when a taxi slammed into 2 cars at the corner of Chris Hani and Effingham Road. ALS paramedic spokesperson Gareth Jameson said about 15 other people were injured, some critically. "It was chaos," he recalled. "Bodies everywhere, people crying for their loved ones. It's something you don't forget." Accidents like these have become all too common, and the numbers tell a heartbreaking story. Each statistic is a person, someone with dreams, families, and a future that was cut short in a split second. And behind every number, there's a ripple effect. Children who grow up without parents, parents who must bury their children, and communities left grieving yet again.